We are very excited about today's show, and before we begin, we got Jesse Ledoux with our product feature of the week. Jesse, tell us what you got for us.
Hey, Steven. So I wanted to kind of refresh our listeners because we haven't talked about our coaching options in a minute. So I wanted to circle back. So for those listening that may not have committed to a pageant coach, or you have a pageant coach and you're looking for some other options, we have so many possibilities to get you on the right track for your pageant and make sure you feel confident and powerful and your best you.
Got it. So when we say coaching options, what are, I guess, the different ways that we provide those options for individuals?
So it's very multifaceted because we have totally, over the past year, made it so multidimensional. And what that means is we have our box membership for those in the US and Canada, and then our standard digital coaching for our listeners in the rest of the world. So for example, our virtual coaching, our VC membership, starts at $29 a month. That includes unlimited written questions to our pageant coaching staff. So you can send us pictures of your past evening gowns or evening gowns you're considering. You can send us your headshots you're considering that you want help narrowing down, or you can even send in your paperwork to be reviewed so it is typo free and as effective as possible. So that's our virtual coaching membership, and that membership is $29 a month, like I said. And for those in the US and Canada, you get a box delivered to your door that is tailor-made to when your pageant is. So if you're 5 months out and you should be focusing on your wardrobe, you get goodies that will help you do your shopping, do your saving, preserving the garments, and then also checklists of, okay, here's how you can find the right gown, and here's how you can make the most of your shopping experience. So that's virtual coaching.
Wow. Okay, so for $29, and if you're in another country, you don't get the box, but it's still only $29. So
well, and I'll say that's the lowest coaching package anyway. So regardless of whether you're in US or Canada or not, I mean, that's a monthly fee. Where are you going to find that level of coaching anywhere else? Unlimited questions that you can ask for that amount. Yeah. You're not. So the box, I like to tell our US and Canada contestants, our members, like the box is a bonus. Like you're paying for the coaching. The box is the good stuff. It's just extra.
Well, and then there's also access to this timeline, right? They get emails. What's that about? So it used to be free. It's not free anymore.
It's part of the coaching membership because it was so bad. We had thousands of people on it, and thousands of contestants would tell us that they won their pageant as a result. So we were like, you know what? How can we make this more exclusive for those of our partners that are so loyal to us that we can give them even more attention through the box of the coaching? So the timeline, you're right, you get an email every single month, and it includes motivational quotes. It includes concrete links to either past articles or resources to help you save money or get more thorough in your preparation. And also, like at the very end, this is my favorite feature. It's like, hey, here's what you should have accomplished so far. That way you'd be like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot to do that last month. Let me get on it. So the timeline comes to you every single month in your email inbox, and it kind of rounds out all of your coaching. So you get the box, you get the coaching, and then you get the timeline.
Yeah, because it's going to be really stressful, and that was the thing that we wanted to do, eliminate the stress of, oh gosh, pageant's 5 months away, what in the world should I be practicing right now? Should I buy my dress? Should I be working with a trainer? Mm-hmm. Should I be practicing interviews questions? So the timeline really covers all that. Okay, so you get all that for $29, mm-hmm. which that's free. And then we have two other options, right? So what are the two other options?
So the next level is our VIP membership, and that's $76 a month. That includes everything you just heard, plus unlimited mock interviews, which is a huge deal because what I mean by that is one-on-one Skype mock interviews with a physical coach. So we do a Skype call. We ask you questions that are tailored to your pageant, to your paperwork, to your pageant style. So if you're a Miss American contestant, we do sessions of, we do a full run of 10 minutes. If you're a National American Miss contestant, we do several 1-minute rounds of interview, and then you get live feedback right then and there. So you get those included with that membership.
Yeah, and we just ran a report on this. It's the average amount of time that people stay VIP members with us is 6 months, mm-hmm. but we had a high amount of people that are in a year plus. they just keep the membership going, taking all those mock interviews and just keep it rolling in. So, which I was pretty shocked by that. I didn't realize it was that long, So, okay, so that's VIP. And then what's the third?
The last that includes...
Go ahead. The VIP, they still get the box and the prep and all that, so, too.
Exactly. And
which
so
you said, okay.
The most pinnacle membership is VIP Platinum, and that includes everything you just heard, the mock interviews, the box, the unlimited, plus guaranteed weekly one-on-one coaching sessions. So we talk about everything from your wardrobe, your branding, your platform development, your appearance strategies, walking and posing. That time is your time to do whatever it is you want. You're paying for it, it's yours, and you have a dedicated coach that you work with that will help fine-tune you, work to develop what are your areas of most improvement and how do we make them your strength. So that level is $148 a month.
Yeah, and which is like, again, most pageant coaches charge between $100 and $150 an hour, but there are some that charge like $200, $250. So with this, it's like massive cost savings. With how do they buy this if they want to sign up for it?
So the easiest way to get introduced to the program is to visit pageantplanet.com/box. And from there, you'll have the ability to upgrade to the VIP or the VIP Platinum option. And then you immediately get enrolled in the box program, which will sync with your pageant date. So everything will come together and you will have pretty much like a little coaching army behind you.
Love that. All right. Thanks, Jesse.
Welcome to Pageant Planet's podcast, where we share stories and strategies to help expand and connect the global pageant community. Visit pageantplanet.com to find pageants, hire coaches, shop for dresses, and more. Now, here's your host, Stephen Roddy.
Welcome to another episode. Today, Jesse and myself, we are going to be talking about 6 international pageant trends that happened in 2018 and how we see them playing out in 2019. So, Jesse, set the stage for us.
So, Stephen, I don't know if you agree, but I think 2018 was a very exciting year in pageantry.
Yeah, there was a lot. From Miss America to Miss Universe, there was a lot of stuff happening.
And there were gorgeous winners. We saw tons of impeccable gowns and pageants themselves taking themselves more seriously and aligning with public expectations. So they're looking at themselves more as a business and they're making some changes that we never thought would happen. One example is taking the swimsuit out of Miss America or Miss Universe, adding a speaking component. We'll talk about some of those today. But it was just a year of kind of things going on their head. And as we gear up for 2019, I wanted to review some of the most notable trends of the year and what we expect to see moving forward. And we both polled our Instagram audience. We polled our staff because they follow every single pageant all across the board in the world. So they have some insight too.
Well, and what I like to see about pageantry is, we can thank the Me Too movement from this, but it really has moved away from just judging on raw beauty to more of that spokesmodel type position, which I feel like is ultimately going to help every girl who wins the title in 2019, because people are going to be looking at them more than just a pretty face or a girl with a title. They're like, wow, okay, she can hold her own on a microphone. She can get people to engage in activities. So I think that this is very good for the industry.
Well, and on the flip side, I agree. I think from the outside looking in, they're amazing changes. But I have heard some crotchety, longtime pageant fans wishing that pageants would just stay in their lane and do what they do best. Like Miss Universe has always been known as a beauty pageant, but now here's an entire new component judged on speaking ability. So I did hear some mixed messages from those already inside the community of, well, do we have to have every pageant with every kind of speaking message, or can't we just have a beauty pageant? So lots of conversation in the industry, but you're absolutely right. To the outside, that's what they want. They don't just want to see outer beauty, and we talk all about that today.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so go ahead and let's talk and break down the first trend that you saw happening in 2018.
So I want to tell our listeners that I pulled some photos and shared with Steven so I could give him some context on these points. But if you're looking to do your own assessment on the pageant trends of 2018 And like, I know a lot of you are off for vacations or holidays, etc., and you want to fall into a scroll hole, which is what I call when I'm just laying in bed, not wanting to get up, and I'm just scrolling aimlessly on Instagram. The Instagram at Pageant Planet, which I'm sure many of you already follow, has so many good nuggets and photos, like all the way back to the January of last year and well beyond. So if you want to go there, feel free.
Scroll hole. I like that.
I just made it up today.
Well, you nailed it. Okay. So, all right, what's the first trend that you see?
So this was my choice on the list of 6, and I'll tell you who kind of gave us each one across the board. And it was neutral metallics. And I noticed that the top 4 in Miss Earth, the top 5 in Miss Tourism, 4 of the top 5 in Miss Universe, all had neutral metallics. And by that I mean silvers, golds, rose golds, coppers, etc. So any version of a metal color in an evening gown. And I mean, it really reigns supreme. And like, a lot of these contestants took it to the next level by using different fabrics, textures to enhance the overall look. So it wasn't just straight beading. We saw floral appliques. Beaded fringe was massive in the end of 2018, so expect to see that next year too. And silk trains like to create a dimension and wow factor. So it was more than just metallic beading.
Yeah, I get that. Well, so what do you think about this trend? Do you think it's here to stay? Do you think you kind of alluded that you feel like we're going to see more of it?
Yeah, I don't think it's going anywhere soon just because it is so regal. It's very safe in the sense of like, if you choose a bold color, people might be gravitated in one way or the other. They either like it or they don't. So metallics are always easy, very regal. I will say that though, like with this being such a strong trend, when we do see a gown with color, it makes people go crazy. And by people, I mean like the fans go crazy because it's refreshing. Like, Steven, do you remember if I were to say like Vietnam prelim gown from this year? Remember what gown I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It was that amazing yellow, really strong shoulders. And I mean, when you're in a lineup of 20 contestants and there's 3 in color, the eyes are going to gravitate to you. So I will say, I think it's like people are still a little bit nervous to go into that color realm, but they should be confident enough to be able to go against it.
Yeah, I mean, throughout history, there's never, I mean, people always say like winners wear white. Well, that's, and we've talked about this before in previous episodes, the reason why that whole saying came about is because everyone wore white. So the probability that you're going to win in white is high because literally everybody on stage is like wearing white. But I do feel almost like metallic is kind of the new white.
It is the new white. Totally right.
Yeah. So what do you expect of this happening in 2019? Do you think because more and more people will be wearing like metallic that we're going to start to see more pops of color? Because I mean, 2 years ago we saw. No, I'm saying 2 years ago, but I feel like there was more 2014, 2015. There was a lot of really strong color, but it was less structured. It was just all in the fabric. And then the color was really the pop. But now we're seeing more metallic, and how you stick out is you use different materials of metallic.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, Stephen, as far as like the odds. I think we will see the majority of contestants in 2019 will still go with whites and metallics. But if you look at the runways of the upcoming spring and summer collections for all the major designers, they're going with yellow toned colors. So greens are huge in general fashion. Yellow is going to be huge in general fashion. So I think when you're talking about that like burst of colors, a lot of blues and purples and pinks, I think we're going to see the opposite side of the color spectrum in 2019, greens and yellows, and that'll be a huge refreshment. And again, we ended the season so strong with Philippines wearing red amongst all the metallics that I'm hoping that we do see some bravery next year.
I love red as far as the evening gown. Like when it comes out on stage, I just, obviously there's some misses in there, but for the most part, like I just think they're hits. So like when they walk on stage, they're really great. Such a strong color.
It is, and everybody has their own red too. I mean, depending upon your skin undertones, and you can tell your undertones by looking at the underside of your wrist. If you look at your veins, if they look a little bit greenish, you probably have a warm skin tone. If they look blue, you probably have a cool skin tone. Or same thing, like if you look better in silver, you probably have a cool skin tone, if you look better in gold, you have a warm skin tone. So there's a couple tests online if you're really interested to see your undertones, and then you can help find the right red, because if you have a cool skin tone, you want to stick with blue based, so like a purplish red or something like a burgundy. But if you have a warm skin tone, you can go with like that fire engine orangey red. So lots of research should be done around red, but you're absolutely right. Red works for everyone because there is a red for everyone.
Do you know of one of those tests off the top of your head? And I'm putting you on the spot a little bit of where they can go and take that skin color test.
Well, the two that I mentioned, the veins and the jewelry color, is one that you'll see in almost any of them. But if you just do a Google search of how to find your undertones, like there'll be like 5 options that come up. I'm trying to think of what the other, like one is like, do you burn in the sun or do you naturally tan? So, I mean, they're ones that like kind of, it's not one particular test. They kind of just run together.
Oh, got it. Okay. Well, I think it's probably important, and I'm sure you're going to touch on this too, that there is no magic color, like in any evening gown that you select, right? There's no magic color that's going to help you win, etc.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. I mean, I remember when I was shopping for Miss International, I wore black and I wanted to wear yellow so bad, Stephen. You know, that's my spirit color, and I wore it for my farewell. And I was like, I just don't see yellow winning. And sure enough, like Dianara won Miss Universe that year in yellow, and I was like, son of a gun, like yellow can win. And then when I had my farewell gown, I was like, you know what, this gown would have won. So it was just, there is no magic color. It is all about the gown, the presentation, it all kind of working together as one.
Yeah, because judges are real people. So naturally they feel drawn to a certain color. If you just say, what's your favorite color? They're going to say blue or whatever. But that doesn't mean that, okay, I'm not going to crown, or the only girl I'm going to crown on stage is blue dress. So to get yourself in that mindset of like, I've got to wear white if I want to win, or I have to wear metallic, it's not the right mindset to be in. It's more like, what's going to enhance your beauty? What dress makes you feel most beautiful? What dress do you feel like, oh my gosh, I could see myself winning in that? Because if you can see it yourself winning in that particular dress, then the judges will naturally be able to see you as a winner as well.
Oh, for sure. And if I remember back to our pageant prep timeline that we have that goes for all of our box subscribers or coaching membership members, one of the months that you have to do when you prepare for your pageant, we call it the research month. And your job is to look at the past 3 to 5 winners from your pageant to kind of research, okay, what did they wear? How'd they wear their hair? What did they style? What did their figure look like? And just evaluate all of that. That's important to do too for your own system. So if you see a string of, okay, every single contestant for the last 5 years wore a metallic, granted the same judges are not judging every year, but maybe it's some words that the director is giving them. So maybe it's exotic, because I think the metallic can come across a bit more glam, but more like universal. I think maybe regal, obviously mixed metallics have that aura as well. So maybe they're not telling the judges to pick a girl in metallic, but the words they might be choosing are.
Yeah, and that's what I really love about the international stage, not necessarily like the international pageant, but like just Miss Universe, Miss World, etc., is because us, like here in America, we have our own trends, but then when you open up the stage globally and you can see all the different countries bringing in all the different colors and their fabrics, like you really see, that's how you get like the pulse of what's happening in pageantry on a global scale. Not just what's happening in America or Australia, South Africa, Europe, etc.
Stephen, do you remember, and I'm going on a tangent here, her name was Ma May, I think, and she was Miss Maryland USA, a couple of, maybe Olivia Jordan's year?
She's not ringing a bell.
She had dark complexion. She was on America's Next Top Model with Tyra Banks, and she wore her Miss USA finals night gown was black, and it had a ton of different textures, a lot of sheer beading. It was super high fashion. Are we there yet? Are you with me?
Gosh, I want to say yes, just because it makes me sound like more knowledgeable, but I'm not. But continue on.
Okay, well, I'll continue on. I will say, like, she stepped out of the box hardcore with evening gown. Like, it was so beautiful, so avant-garde, and all I could think to myself was, oh my gosh, USA is not ready for this. Like, it would have been the most amazing Miss Universe gown, but it was so high fashion that I knew USA would reject it. And we'll get into like some of the reasons why that is. But also consider like you just said, on an international scale, the rules are so different and things are accepted differently. So like keep that in mind when you are like transitioning, either if you're competing for your national title and then going on to international, you can feel free to kind of be a little edgier, be a little bit more rule breaking.
Yeah, and what's like some people said about Demi's dress that had the green and the yellow.
Oh yeah.
And there are people who are like, oh my gosh, I did not like it. Like me personally, I wasn't crazy about it. No, let me be transparent. I didn't like it. However, the South, like I could totally get the theme there. It was like the South African flag. And for them, they look at that color of green, and we have a lot of fans in South Africa that listen to us. They look at their color of green differently than us, because that's not a part of our everyday, like that color of green. I'm sure Jamaica would probably be similar, because that green is in their flag too. So it's cool to see that translate. And though I can say I didn't like her dress, obviously I still like love her. I think she's amazing. I can also appreciate the context of where she was coming from. And she wasn't competing. So this is just like whatever dress she wanted to wear.
Yeah, that's very true. And if you look back, I think the USA a couple of years ago, they had the contestant that wore the dress shaped like her state flag or her tribal flag. Same thing. That just doesn't work for anyone else. It just works for her. So you have to trust yourself. You have to be able to kind of navigate what are the trends of my system, what's going to work for me, what's going to work against me.
Yeah, completely. And like a side note, Demi, that's how she won South Africa. It was like she had that green gown. It was like just an all green gown that she wore that won her the opportunity to go on to Miss Universe. So, anyways, it's just cool to see all the different cultures and how they do.
I'm going to miss Demi. I'm just going to say, I'm going to miss her a lot. I'm really heartbroken that she's gone.
Yeah, she's been great. And I feel like we've had some good Miss Universes the past few. But yeah, I think the world of her.
I did send you a picture of Mame.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes.
Let me check it.
I want to hear your perspective on it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So it's so theatrical. It looks like it would be a great talent gown if you're like an opera singer for the American system. Way too risque for America. Way too like, but the drama of it. I do remember this one now. Yeah. I love it. I love it. And I think you're right that, yeah, Miss USA was not ready. Miss Universe would have been there.
And put it on a Miss Venezuela or Miss Puerto Rico on their country pageant. I think it would have fit right in, don't you?
Yeah, completely. I love looking at their dresses.
Oh my gosh.
Even some of the things that walk across the stage and like Bila, like, and I know I'm saying that right. So please, my Filipino fans, like, don't hurt me too hard. But it basically means Miss Philippines, which I didn't know, I wasn't privy to. But that is the miss. But anyway, so their dresses really great, and I just really enjoy looking at all the different cultures and their evening gowns and what they bring, because it's so different. A lot of times it's different from what we have in the United States.
Yes. So I want to talk about number 2 that enhances the evening gown. So we talked all about the evening gown. Now I want to talk about the styling.
Yep. Okay, bring it.
Okay, so number 2 is the variety of hairstyles that we saw in 2018, and our Instagram users were totally united on this. I'm going to call out a couple that mentioned it. So Yadira_Simon said more girls wearing their natural hair. Totally right on. Agree completely. Ms. Woman Tennessee US 18, women of color wearing their curls instead of weaves and extension. We saw it most recently in Miss Belgium Universe. Loved her. She was one of my personal faves.
Oh, me too.
She was super
I was like
cute.
rooting for her.
Same. And then also Hartley.Rice said the straight hairstyles also were one of the things she noticed. So I sent Steven a picture, and this is on our Pageant Planet Instagram feed, like I said, of the top 5. And I just want to kind of recap the 5 different hairstyles we saw. We had Miss Puerto Rico with her hair slicked back, but also still wavy and curly at the end. Then we had Miss Venezuela with the extreme center part and the stick straight hair. Then we saw Catriona, Miss Philippines, the eventual winner, with the side part with big waves. And then we had Miss South Africa, sleek, straight pony. And finally, everyone's favorite, Miss Vietnam, with the super cropped pixie cut. I cannot remember a time with a more diverse hair year. Can you?
No.
In any
no.
pageant
Really,
ever.
that was the thing that I told Renata, too, when she and I were watching Miss Universe. I said, oh, my gosh, look at how everybody's hairstyles are different. And so we were just analyzing it. But, yeah, it was – I do not remember a time seeing that drastic of hairstyles.
Well, and even if you looked at the top 10, we just mentioned Miss Belgium had an adorable cropped curly hairdo, and we had Miss Great Britain who wore her natural braids, kind of half up, half down, looking absolutely amazing. So I think like this was, if I had to pick one of my favorite trends of the year, this was probably it, because the standards of beauty are evolving. Typical pageant hair is becoming less necessary, because I do hear like a lot of girls, they get a ton of extensions, or they do just the pageant waves because it's easy, they know it works, it's flattering on everyone. I loved seeing people take a chance and being rewarded for it.
Yeah, I mean, South Africa's hair, I mean, clearly, right? She stepped on her gown like twice. And then when she did her on-stage question, she didn't even fully answer like the one question. But she still got like top 5. You know, like it was amazing how well she did, and she just looked flawless. And every
She
time she
did.
was out there on stage, and I loved her her high ponytail with the sleek straight hair. That's my favorite hairstyle. I love it when Renata just does her hair up in a ponytail and really sleek and straight down. So I just really love that look. It's really classy. She was great. You obviously said Vietnam was, I mean, her short pixie cut was just super cute, really trend. But when I look at this, I don't think pageant. I think, oh my gosh, all of these girls were at the red carpet.
Yes.
And that's a word that I feel like is like Hollywood glam, red carpet, that every girl uses to describe what they want to look when they go out on stage. And the end result is most of those girls all look the same.
Yes.
Like with the same kind of curls, the same kind of way hair falls. But here I see the Hollywood glam aspect of it.
Yeah, and I think like we even saw on a U.S. standpoint, like Sarah won Miss USA with stick straight hair. So that was a huge change, like, and definitely stood out in a good way. But I think beyond just like them choosing more like regular hairstyles, I'd say, is that a thing? I guess it's not regular hairstyles, because curly pageant curls are
traditional,
a regular hairstyle.
Maybe traditional pageant hairstyles.
Yeah, maybe like more streetwear styles. Like you said, you'll see them more out in general fashion and culture. And I will say, like, they all worked with each of their presentations too. Like, for example, Puerto Rico, super smiley and super bubbly. So the fact that she slicked her hair back allowed her face to be the center, but she still did soft and curly at the bottom. So it still kind of felt like her. If she had been so smiley and bubbly with super fully slicked back hair, totally straight, I feel like there would have been a disconnect with her personality. So, like, I don't think she would have been as successful had she done South Africa's ponytail, just because it didn't feel like her. So it's just as important when you're considering your gown to have your personality that your styling does too.
Love that. All right. So do you expect this trend to continue on in 2019?
Yes, I think we will see a dramatic increase in the amount of contestants, both to continue embracing their natural hair texture and taking chances away from traditional pageant curls. I mean, even like National American Miss, we just saw an adorable contestant win with a really short, tight, cropped, curly hairdo. We saw another contestant win with like a really severe bob, like a blunt bob. All things we're not used to seeing win in pageantry, and I'm loving it. I am here for it in 2019. Love the hair differentiation.
I just want to say it again, like, shout out to Belgium. I just loved her hairstyle. So cute. Okay, so what's the third trend that you see that you saw in 2018?
So this came from our queen of editing, Allison. So just to give everyone background a little bit into what Allison does, Allison sees every single thing that goes out everywhere we put it out. So she knows the trends, like she is up on it. And she said capes and then drama in general. So again, capes really emerged when we saw Olivia Jordan wear the Berta gown at Miss Universe 2 years ago. And then they've kind of like run their course in 2018. Like we've seen them everywhere. And like even Demi wore a one-shoulder cape gown. Like we saw capes in every variation in 2018. And I mean, like, I like drama. I mean, what is a pageant without drama? Steven, you ever been to a pageant that didn't have any drama, both on stage and off?
The whole word pageantry means drama.
Synonymous.
I mean, it was literally, the word pageantry is used to describe drama. So, yeah, there is no pageant without drama. So, yeah.
I do think, my personal opinion though is I am ready to see capes kind of fade out for next year, and I'll give some real reasons why, not just because personal preference, because I do love a cape, but I think it just became almost a guarantee, especially in fun fashion. So not just evening gown and fun fashion, it was like whether it was a shoulder cape or what I call a butt cape. So it's like an overskirt type deal that just extends longer. I just felt like it was like, okay, here's a cocktail dress with an overskirt, or here's jumpsuit with a cape. It was just like, it happened more often than it didn't happen.
You're right. And it does help those contestants that are nervous to give them something to play with when they're on stage, like something to do with their hands, maybe the newbies. So I could see it from that. It's almost like a crutch, if you will. Mm-hmm. But I agree with you, because it almost seems like, oh, it's fun fashion, get something with a cape.
Yes.
And for maybe our international audience that doesn't have fun fashion, consider it like an evening gown phase of competition, but you're wearing something that's just more of a talent type gown or more of a fun fashion. And when you're walking, it's just a real playful, joyful walk when you're on stage. And it's a lot of pageants here in America, they have that. So it seems almost like the lazy way of just saying, oh, it's fun fashion, let's do a cape and then play with the cape. Versus the girls that go all out and like have their shoes themed out with their skirts and their tops and some stuff in their hair. So I'm ready to see the trend adjust there.
Yeah, I think we will continue to see, though, for 2019, overskirts. I mean, Canada last week Miss Canada Universe got such an ovation over her peach gown with the gigantic overskirt, the layers, the structured overskirt.
She was so pretty.
Oh, she was gorgeous.
I saw her now, I'm like, if you just put a box around her, she would be a Barbie.
She would
be. You just cardboard box, like plastic over, like call it a day. She would be a Barbie.
And the audience lost their mind. Do you remember how loud it got? And she's from Canada. That you heard how loud that room was when Miss Thailand was on, because it was in Thailand. And then when Miss Canada did her evening gown, it was like, holy moly! Like all of a sudden, they erupted. Yeah,
and I mean, you expect that from Venezuela. You expect it from Philippines. Obviously Thailand, since they're in Thailand. But Canada, there's like pageantry isn't even overly popular in Canada. Mm-hmm. It's growing in popularity, but it's not like America or these other countries that we've labeled. So to have the whole audience erupt, a bunch of other countries, not just Canadians, were like on board with that.
Yep. So I think we'll see structured overskirts, not just soft chiffon, dusters, I would call them. I think full structure. I think we'll start to see this was popular in the 90s, Stephen, in pageantry. It was like a single train, so it was an attachment on one shoulder. So I call it a shoulder sweeper, and it just goes all the way to the floor. I think we'll see those kind of like a transition away from capes. Like we're not ready to let it go, but we're moving on. So it's very elegant, very sweet, very soft. It works great for teen contestants. And I think we'll see a lot of sheer overlays. Like I think we'll see a lot more people playing with the fact that either they have like a full skirt over a fitted skirt that you can see through, or maybe they have nothing underneath, so it's more nude. I think those are where we'll see drama next year versus capes.
I love that. All right. Okay. Anything else you want to say that before we move on to point 4?
Like a cape, I think the topic has run its course. Is that too harsh?
No, that was good. All right, good transition. All right, what's trend number 4 that you see happening in 2018?
Well, I think beyond pageantry, this trend was massive. This came from our pageant staff too. Female empowerment was like
Mm-hmm.
the trend of the whole industry.
Yeah, and like Hollywood and just it seemed like the world, like really empowering women, which is awesome.
Hmm.
Even coming from a guy, like it's great.
It
Like,
is
and
great. It is great. And we saw, I think, evidence of that in every single Q&A phase of competition in every single country around the world, which was really, really exciting. Like they would talk, like they would ask the contestants what their goals were as a title holder, or why they would be the best fit, and a lot of them have the similar sentiment of you can follow your dreams, I'm proof of that, etc. And which leads me to a really interesting tweet I saw recently during an international pageant, and it said, "Follow your dreams is the new world peace."
hmm,
What do you think about that?
I would agree with that because we don't. If we're just talking pageantry, like that was typical, stereotypical conversation. I just want world peace. Now, when you hear every girl's from National American Miss to Philippines to Thailand, South Africa, the United Kingdom, it is. Girls are like, no, I've got goals, I've got dreams, and I want to pursue them. And you hear that inside the interview room, you hear that on stage, and you even hear that in the kids pageants, the glitz pageants,
Hmm.
about girls like, I've got big dreams, I want to do big things. And what a great kind of mantra to have in the industry, especially going on towards, if we jump back to point number 1, where we're saying how it's more conversational and it's leaning more towards that spokesmodel type role, like when we said in the introduction. So I think that those two go hand in glove.
Yes, and the conversation in pageantry especially is so important because there are naysayers who believe pageants aren't relevant, and this is one of the key reasons that we are. And what I expect to see for moving forward is like this message is not changing anytime soon. But what I think it's important is it's the amount of weight we can add to it that will make it a sustainable dialogue. So it doesn't become a joke like world peace. Like world peace is now like a funny, people here you could be in pageants and think, oh, you want world peace, and it's like, you're hilarious. You're so funny, very original. So I
Never
think,
heard that one before. Thanks.
oh yes, right.
Shut
Oh my
your
gosh,
mouth.
what a great joke. I think so. The way to keep it from being a punchline is to, for each contestant listening, when you're kind of establishing what that like follow your dreams message is, add weight to it with your story, with personal stories, action plans, details. And that's what I think we'll see in 2019, and especially because Catriona and a lot of the other international winners from this year, like Miss Earth, Miss World, they do come forward with, hey, here's what I've done in the world, and here's my plan to do it. And that's why I think it's important to follow your dreams. My dream is to make a difference. Here's how I'm doing it. It doesn't have to be in that order or that messaging, but I think we will see people making the follow your dreams conversation personal.
That is the thing that drew me to the industry in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that don't know, like I owned a football team, an arena football team, prior to starting Pageant Planet, and I was dating a girl that was competing in the Miss America system, and I went to her pageant, and I was amazed, one, about how rowdy everybody was, but then two, I was amazed at how my girlfriend at the time, she had this team of people around her that encouraged her in her dreams, that helped critique her imagery, like helped her with her makeup so she could get her confidence up and the right look. And they practiced with her, like public speaking, interview, walk. And I'm like, geez, this is amazing. Like life skills. The only way I could get that same type of thing is if I paid and went to a business conference. That's the only way. And at pageantry, it's just built in the support system of basically helping this girl or guy, and for our male users, like be the person they need to be in order to achieve their dreams. And that's when like more people need to know about this. We should create a portal that helps whatever, and here comes Pageant Planet. But that was a really big draw for me as an outsider looking into the industry when I first started.
Well, and it's one of those things that we are just in a pivotal time for women in the world. Women's rights is a major conversation for those emerging nations and even in world leaders. I mean, it's just a bigger conversation than ever before. So make it the biggest takeaway I can say from this trend for 2019 is find a way to make it your own. If you record yourself answering the question about why should you be XYZ title holder and you listen back, and I can literally pick up that audio and give it to another contestant and they can say it and it can sound like their answer perfectly. There's not enough about you in it. So when you're fine-tuning, okay, what is my follow your dreams moment? How do you put more of yourself in it? It's all about you. It's all about convincing the judges that they should pick you versus anybody else.
Yeah, love that. All right, point number 5. What do you see as a trend?
Steven, this was your choice for this year.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you lead the way?
So for me, it was crazy the amount of interview suits that I saw kind of make a reemergence. And it's not the traditional like corporate sponsor interview suit that looks like it was from the 90s that's just, been worn in 2018. I mean, these were some pretty, like, if you're walking into a job interview at Prada type of interview suits. So very form-fitted, really sleek. I just loved it. Now, I wasn't crazy about Miss USA's interview suit. I mean, it was like a half suit and half short thing. The red, it was red, right?
It was, hers was white, but there may have been a red one this year somewhere.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, at the Miss Universe is the one I'm speaking of.
Yes. She had was a double-breasted and had one long sleeve and one short sleeve.
Yeah, but the breast was only on like one side. You know, it was like a double-breasted vest, but it was almost like two of them merged into one. It was odd. I wasn't crazy about it, but like there was a lot of different angles and a lot of different plays on the suits. I mean, you see them everywhere. I mean, National American Miss, again, for those of you that are not in the United States, National American Miss pageant is the largest pageant within the United States as far as numbers of girls that they see that goes through their system every year. I mean, it's like tens of thousands. I mean, it's a lot of girls. But they're known for their suits, but they're the old school suits, not suits like what we saw at Miss Universe and throughout Miss USA, like state titles.
Well, we saw everything from fitted cropped pants with blazers. We saw a very, very wide leg, like palazzo style with a really fitted cropped blazer. We saw no top underneath, so it was like a plunging suit, so very, very sexy. And then we saw from a teen level and a miss level, we saw blazers with cute little crop shorts. So there was so many different variations that we saw this year. And I love seeing women make this look their own because I will say, like, as a petite, very slender woman, I can't wear the same suit that Miss Vietnam wore at Miss Universe. It would swallow. She wore like a big wide leg suit with some detailing on it. It would swallow me up whole. So suits are not one size fits all. So I like that some women, like, okay, they know that their best asset is their shoulders. So they did a great suit that featured their shoulders. Others elongated their legs. Others showcased their décolletage. I mean, it was just like it ran the gamut and no two suits looked alike.
Yeah. And the thing I like is pageantry, if you really just kind of dumb it down, it's a glorified job interview for a spokesmodel position, right? And all these different categories are just different phases of the job interview. And when you walk into the job interview, you want to wear an outfit like you are there to be the spokesperson or the marketing director. Like when you're walking into the Miss Universe interview, you want to walk into the interview room dressed like you're going for the marketing direction or the spokesmodel position for like Prada or Gucci, which was an international fashion brand, right? That's the kind of flair that these suits had, which I thought it was perfect.
And I thought it was even more of an exclamation point when Demi wore it in her first walk out of on stage during the entire show. She had like
Yeah.
an amazing crisp white suit. And I think elegant white suits are one of the most elegant and timeless looks in all of fashion history for women. What do you think about that statement? Is that a bold statement to make?
No, it's definitely a bold statement. Like, I guess when I think timeless as far as women, and this could just be me and being a guy, but I always think of the kind of like Lucille Ball, that sort of thing, like with the black dress, like the little black dress and all that. But I could see it from a corporate standpoint when you're going into the job, having this. There is nothing like a woman that is wearing like a perfectly tailored suit that just lines up with her skin tones and her body frame, and it really says, like, it really makes a statement when she walks into the room.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that exclamation point that you're talking about.
Yeah, and I thought we saw a couple of other details with suits this year. We saw them in like really bright candy colors for teens. We saw them, like, some of them had like add like cute little pearls throughout, like a really sweet little detail there. So, I mean, we saw variation upon variation. And while we did, I will say, and Stephen, you let me know what you think, I don't personally see this as a trend that's going to stick long term. And I think we'll see it here and there. I don't think we'll see it as much toward the end of next year as we did this year. Outside of color, it can be hard to redefine the look. And like we said, there is variety opportunity. It's just not something that, like, you see, if you see 5 different suits in a row, it's hard to be like, whoa, that was a really great suit. Like, you just see, you've seen 5 suits, you know? So
Yeah.
I will say too, like, tailoring is very, very hard for traditional, and I say the word, but it's not the right word. For traditional menswear looks, suiting is typically known as menswear. Because it can swallow like a slender contestant whole if not done correctly. So there's a lot of room for error. So I think we'll see it continue into the beginning of next year, but I don't see it going far beyond that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And pageantry is so vast and so wide, though. Whenever we say we don't see this trend continuing, you're always still going to see a suit.
Oh, for sure.
You're always going to see certain colors, because there's so many different personality types and girls and body frames and systems out there that you're always going to see one of these. But we're just talking mainstream trends.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it, because what I find, and you please correct me if you feel like I'm wrong on this, that like on the Miss Universe stage, it's like the designers and on the international scale, they're so focused on our industry that they don't want to repeat themselves. They're always like, okay, new girl, we got to do it different. And they want that girl to have her own stand away, like to stand out in a certain way. So it's almost like the designers of these particular countries are not just like wanting to put their girls on the right foot. And I think that they certainly do that. But what they're wanting to do, it seems like they're almost like competing against each other too.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and we see that, like, even like think about Pia's gown at Miss Universe. It had the very simple front, but the really ornate back. We've really never seen that before on an international pageant stage, like where it was so different. So I just feel like you're absolutely right. The designers that are solely focused on designing for pageantry are looking for what is the next big thing. They're not comfortable repeating. I think designers like U.S. prom designers, or I don't know if there's an equivalent of prom in other cultures. I think that's where you see a lot of the trends live a little bit longer than they will in pageantry, because they're being mass produced. They often are not exposed to the level of, the trend isn't exposed as many people as it is within our industry outside of it. So I think that's when you see it repeat, kind of live a little longer than it should. But for the most part, you're right. Those pageant designers are really one-upping themselves.
Yeah, it's great. Okay. You want to move on to point number 6?
Yeah, the last point is going to be speaking ability. And we saw both Miss Universe and Miss America, from a domestic standpoint, incorporate additional speaking segments this year, allowing the contestants to share their own message. It was like, here's a microphone, here 15 seconds, like, what do you got to say? And it was just a really big statement. We talked about female empowerment before, and this certainly contributes.
Yeah, so what do you think about this?
Well, here we are again with the relevance discussion. Like, women don't want to see one-dimensional women. In a world like where breaking glass ceilings is the goal, like, it's always, okay, who's going to be the first woman to do this, or who's going to be the first woman or the youngest woman to do this. I mean, we're constantly like, when is the next barrier going to be broken? And I think women, for the most part, are united in that messaging. So just to have a really beautiful woman isn't enough for other women outside of the industry. So it's like pageants today have seen that, understood it, and they are out to prove that beauty is more than skin deep.
Yeah. I mean, so I like the idea of it. I just, for this year, on how specifically Miss America did it, I just thought it just seemed so rehearsed.
Mm-hmm.
Like they, were practicing for a sixth grade speech, went in front of a microphone and just regurgitated said speech. I feel like National American Miss has been doing this for a lot of years, and their girls, 9, 10 years old, step into a microphone in front of like thousands of people, and they crush it. Like they do pretty good. But there was just something about the translation of America, and I did see some on the universe stage that just it still felt a bit cheesy to me. Did it feel cheesy to you too?
Yeah, that was my sentiment exactly, and that's like where I see it changing for next year. Like, cheesy is the word I actually have written down, and I agree. I think Miss America did this not as well as Miss Universe because a lot of pageant coaches in the U.S. do cover several systems. Like, okay, personal introduction. Like, let's adopt it from several of the other pageants I work on, and what works well is kitschy, alliterative, cutesy, corny little phrases often because they're memorable for like the younger age divisions. Stephen, I'm sure you've heard a million of them. But I think that's how it felt with Miss America. It didn't feel like you were just speaking your mind, and that's what I think it should feel like. So the best way to practice this is through conversation, like having organic conversation, learning how to talk to someone as though you're just trying to prove your own point. So I think the speaking portions will stay. I am hoping and praying that they become less scripted, less rehearsed, and more like, let me think of an example. Do you remember, Stephen?
I've got a good example.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I have a good example of how I would like it to be.
Give it to
Not
me.
necessarily. Okay, so I would like it to be like Grammys or Oscars. Like the celebrities come up, they have the mic, and they're basically doing their acceptance speech. I would like it to be more like that. Because, even they bring some of the notes of the people that they want to thank or whatever, but you kind of get a little feel for the quirkiness or the personality of that particular actor.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, like Leonardo DiCaprio, when he was on stage, he used his whole thing to, it was like to push his cause, something that was important to him.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas other times people use that to bash Trump, or they just use it to thank their producer or whatever. But it's kind of like an open mic, certain amount of time, and you get to feel the personality of that individual. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah, and that was almost my exact example as well, but mine was specific. It was Patricia Arquette. Do you remember that speech where she gave about equal pay for women in Hollywood?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's one of my favorite GIFs. I still say GIF, even though everyone else says GIF. But Meryl Streep, like, clapping and pointing, like, that's from Patricia Arquette's speech. That's my favorite of all time. But she just said, like, she was crusading for equal pay for women. And if you're getting on stage and doing 15 seconds and it is based on either your platform or a follow your dreams inspirational moment, I want to feel the emotion driving it and not the cutesy tagline you came up with. And I think you should have a tagline. It doesn't have to necessarily be cutesy. It doesn't have to rhyme. It doesn't have to all start with the same letter. But I think it should be driven more by get the message across, because the cutesier, the cheesier, the more rehearsed you get, the more likely we are as an industry to continue getting on like laugh reels on things like TMZ, Entertainment Tonight, memes, late night talk shows in a negative way.
Yeah, even if it's like, I don't care if you put a podium up there and a microphone and you have a little piece of paper that you put out on there and then you go at it for 20 seconds or whatever. If you can deliver that speech and have like a point drive home and you stand by it, that's going to leave a really powerful impression of the power of our industry.
Well, I think let's even think about this. Was it Miss Michigan at Miss America? All the contestants do like their intro of like their, well, this year I did like this. They did the focus on education, which wasn't one of the trends we mentioned, but I think it will be. They did like their name, their major, their school. And she came up and she'd ignored all of that. And she just said from the state. So I think she might have taken like one, if she wasn't doing that, she said something like the state that doesn't have enough water for all of its residents. And she got more publicity from that statement than any other contestant that did a 15-second quote unquote groundbreaking speech moment, right? Do you remember that?
Right. Yeah, I do. She said from the state of 10,000 lakes that don't have a single drop clean enough for the residents to drink or something like that. Yeah. And people were like, oh, snap.
Yeah. Oh, snap. Exactly. And like, you don't want to shock and awe during that 15-second moment, but you do want to make a statement. And she made a statement. And that's why it was so notable, because people don't look to pageant contestants to make statements. Even though we all know that pageant contestants are more than capable, and 9 days out of 10, they're out in their community doing speaking engagements just like this. For some reason, when we get on stage to be judged, we lose it all. We are like, yo, this is what's expected from the judges. I have to deliver it this way. No, stay true to your message. Stay the course.
Yeah. Well, because you're Miss Australia, Miss United Kingdom, Miss Great Britain, Miss South Africa, Miss Ukraine, right? You're the spokesmodel for that organization, but you carry a national title. Mm-hmm. So push a cause that's a national cause. Do something and use your voice, use your platform. And by platform, I'm meaning crown, the microphone. You're on a literal platform. You use that to make your country better and to make your communities better.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good soapbox, Stephen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That could have been your 15-second speech for Miss America.
Bam. Could. We'll see. We'll see if they open it up for men that are in their late 30s.
But on a side note, I messaged you this during Miss Universe. How do we get Renata to be a translator for Miss Universe? Can we start that campaign now?
Yeah. I mean, we should, because she was like, oh, that sounded so much better in Spanish, than that translator gave her credit for. So, and that was, who was that? Was that Venezuela?
I think it was Venezuela that you shared that with us.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, my wife knows sign language, she knows Portuguese, she knows Spanish, and then obviously English. She's the brains of the operations. But yeah, we should start that campaign. Agreed.
I mean, I'm on board. Whatever we got to do, I'll make it happen.
Okay. All right, so your overall recap.
Okay. Overall direction for 2019 in 2 words: authenticity and glamour. So the appearance factor of pageantry, I don't think it's going away anytime soon, but I do think contestants will be further held to be able to show themselves to the judges and audience in a very limited amount of time. So like we just talked about for a few moments, that 15-second interval, 15 to 30 seconds, if you have the ability to speak, or if your pageant only has an interview, how do you maintain that presentation across the board? So I think in 3 steps to do that: know yourself, know your brand, and know your message.
So good. Well, I appreciate everyone listening. Thank you so very much. And if you have gotten any value out of this particular episode or ones previous, please consider leaving us a 5-star review. It might sound like a really small thing, but it helps us do things like get on Pandora, which we're actually actively looking at, and it helps us stay on Spotify. And so it really does help us keep pushing the show forward. So thank you all so much.
Want to become a part of pageant history? Create a free contestant or business profile on pageantplanet.com to unlock hidden features and connect with other experts throughout the world.